Hello, Janeway here. I wanted to take a moment today to talk about a deck that has been performing fairly well, known as Toxic Surfer. No, Toxin is not in the deck, so the toxic part is Hazmat, which ends up giving -1 to all cards in play. So, first off, let's just talk about what the deck does. So, this deck is based on Wong. Um, Wong is a key part of it, where your on-reveal abilities happen twice. Ideally, what would happen is you throw out magic to get 7 turns. You throw out Wong, and have Mystique absorb Wong, so now you have times 4 returns. Depending on what you and the other opponent has in play, you can take one of 3 routes. You can put out Luke Cage and use Hazmat and give every card on their side -12 power. You could get some more of your threes out, like Brood, or have absorb and or have Absorbing Man absorb Brood to get some extra threes, and Silver Surfer, all your threes up, um, which would be +2 per iteration of Wong Mystique. Um, or you could, if you don't have that many cards and they aren't threes, you could potentially use Ironheart. It gets 3 of your other cards +2 power. It's not necessarily ideal in most situations, but you don't always have Hazmat or Silver Surfer, and you don't always have a bunch of threes out. And so Ironheart is kind of like the third line of defense, if you want to think of it that way. In a perfect world, on your last turn, you would hit Odin, and then assuming Wong and Mystique out, whichever one of the three got the third slot in the field would end up going 12 times or 16 times. So in total, that could be -20 for each card. It could be uh, math 40 times 3. You don't know exactly where it's going, or all of your uh, cards will 3 cost cards will get +40. Now, there's some dangers depending on which route you take or you're forced to take. So, for example, Hazmat. If somebody has the Luke Cage out on the other side, Hazmat's worthless. With Luke Cage, your cards can't have their power reduced. Um, with Ironheart and Silver Surfer, there becomes the obvious threat of getting high enough with your cards that Shang-Chi can put a kibosh on your plans. So there's always a chance that um, once one of your fields has multiple 10 cost cards, that Shang-Chi will happen. Another possibility is the Shadow King, which just restores or resets all cards to their original power. So for that field that the Shadow King is on, uh, you got nothing. You just go back to whatever your base is. And as you can see, the base ain't high. This deck is built around either reducing your enemies or upping up the power um, of your cards. They don't start particularly strong. Another general threat is Lady Deathstrike. So if she comes about, she can clear a field of um, cards that are 3 or less. So let's say you just put out Wong and Mystique, and you have a bunch of level threes out, and so you plan on using Silver Surfer. Well, it's possible in like turn 5 or turn 6 before you can put out Silver Surfer, they kill a good chunk of your threes, and now you can't use them, and you probably lost a chance at getting a field entirely because most of those cards again will probably be less, will probably be three or less. Probably be some combination of these nine. Um, so there are a couple different iterations of this. So sometimes I don't remember. I put Adam Warlock in here replacing something because I needed some faster card draw. Um, and uh, you know how Adam Warlock works. Sometimes people will ignore it, and sometimes people will be like, "I will not let you draw a single card," and they'll throw everything onto that field. Um, but when you get cards, great. When you can't get cards, at least you're pumping him up some. That might be the decider between whether it's a loss or a tie, or whether it's a tie and a win. So I mean, there's use there with his every turn going up if he can't draw a card. Um, Syrah is often in these kind of decks just because they're relatively expensive. And so if you get a if you're at turn five and you haven't been able to or didn't want to put out Wong yet, reducing the costs of everything makes it easier to play the cards in your hand. So if I'm on turn six and everything is reduced, I could on turn six play Wong, Mystique, Hazmat, or Wong, Mystique, Holds, then Silver Surfer or Ironheart and Odin. Um, Odin would always be the last turn in those two scenarios. There are weaknesses to this deck, obviously. So first off, disruption decks can be a pain. So if things like Juggernaut appear, or if things like Polaris or Magneto appear, that can uh, take away and or divide cards from and break down the combo from the Wong Mystique. So I've seen, for example, Magneto pull Wong and Mystique onto a field where there was already two cards. Now they're basically useless. Um, I've seen Polaris pull Hazmat out, making that avenue no longer viable. I've seen people get lucky and kill Luke Cage when I'm hazmatting, and now my cards are also negative. Um, I already mentioned Shang-Chi. Another card that can screw you is Enchantress. And so Wong, Mystique, Mystique once he absorbs Wong, uh, Sarah, they're all ongoing cards. And so they can throw a monkey wrench into your plans by usually they'd aim it at Wong and Mystique if they're together, or Wong if it's by themselves, because that's kind of the central thing uh, in the deck. So uh, that is a possibility. Um, there's one other kind of variant I've seen on this, and so sometimes people will add in Black Panther and Zola to be with Wong and Mystique. And so what'll happen is uh, Black Panther starts at 5, but he doubles every time he does it on reveal. So if he's with Wong and Mystique, he goes up 5 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 to 40, 40 to 80. And then on the next turn, they Zola. And so now Black Panther is gone from the Wong Mystique field, but it has a 66% chance of being kiboshed and moved. And so now you have two Black Panthers on separate fields with 160 as a minimum. If Wong or Mystique were Zolot first, you would then double that again and have a ridiculously high number. So that is a version that people do. But again, things like Shadow King, things like Shang-Chi, they can stop Black Panther. Um, so that's worth keeping in mind. Um, I hope this was useful. Uh, if you like what you see, feel free to look at my Twitch and or donate so I can keep doing these kind of recordings. Um, I hope everybody enjoyed this and hope to see you in the near future. Janeway out.